Hello and welcome back to the Lake District Drive part 6, and here we are in Oxenholme. Just gone past the railway station. Andy was telling me that he was once on that railway station with a former girlfriend, and my brother John, he was telling me that he got off that station, and he wondered whether or not he was in somewhere like South Korea or somewhere, with all the tourists that were there. As you can see, it's the gateway to the Dales, so sorry, not the Dales, to the Lake District. Right, so let's carry on with the motorcycle story. So we're in September, 4th of September to be exact, 2004, and we go over to Bradford Motorcycles on I ride the Deauville, and Lynn and Sam go in the car. So we arrived there fairly early morning, all excited. I mean, I loved the Deauville, don't get me wrong, I absolutely loved it. It was a lovely bike, a lovely colour, the same colour in fact as the Pan-European. It was like a wineberry colour, and in my humble opinion, the only colour for a Pan-European. I mean, there are silver ones, there are like a post office pillar box red, there are green ones, although I'm not sure if they made a green 1300, possibly. I don't think I saw one. White ones, of course, those were ex-police bikes. Blue, did I say blue? Various colours, but as I said, wineberry to me is the colour. So that's the pan outside Bradford Motorcycles. I'll put some photographs up briefly here while we go through Kendal town centre. Kendal's very, very busy, one-way system, and on a really busy day it can be quite, you want to avoid it unless you're actually going to Kendal. You don't want to be going through the town centre really. Now briefly, just going back to Kendal. Kendal is a name derived from the River Kent, so it's Kent Dale. So we've just passed over the River Kent, so that's where they get the name Kendal from. And Kendal is famous for many things, the gateway to the Lake District being the main thing, but also mint cake, Kendal mint cake. Now, I'm not a personal fan of Kendal mint cake. It's quite sweet, and if you've got any dodgy teeth, it will find the nerve. But it's tasty, but it's not for me. Right, so Pan-European. So we did the deal. We part exchanged the 5-month-old Deauville, and bought the pan. Now, leaving Bradford Motorcycles, there's a rather tricky gate, the entrance to the car park or the bike park. It's quite a big park, it's quite a big area in front of the building and at the side. But this sort of exit and entrance to the dealership is really quite tricky. And I used to think that maybe they could make it better, because I believe some bikers have picked a brand new bike up, and these bikes are £13,000-14,000, and they've gone through to go out this entrance or exit, and they've dropped their bike. So it must be so embarrassing to just ride away after all the excitement of getting your new bike, and then to drop it must be the worst feeling in the world. Anyway, I'm pleased to say that I didn't drop our pan. So we gets on the road away from Bradford, and when we gets on the dual carriageway, initially I think it's the A650 and then the A629 that takes you eventually to Skipton, and I just had to pull in and tell Lynn and Sam just how I felt. I had a grin on my face, just like a Cheshire cat. I have never felt so elated in all my life. I just could not believe what I was riding. The power, the smoothness, the torque, everything. And the protection on the fairing, with the fairing, well, I've got a bigger screen on the Deauville. I shouldn't have bought that, really. Obviously, it wasn't cheap, but I bought a taller screen for the Deauville, and that made a heck of a difference for me because I'm tall in the body. But when I got on this pan, well, the huge, massive fairing in front of you, and the display was so good. I really am getting quite emotional thinking about it now, because I've never felt like that. I don't think ever with a bike. Excuse me. After that, I've been excited, of course I have, but I don't think I've ever felt like I did that morning. And and that is something that I'll never forget, and I am so thankful that I got to experience that, because so much has happened now, but we had such just incredible. That's why the pan is so close to my heart. It really is. It's just a shame Honda dropped it. They discontinued it, and the FJR, whilst I love the FJR and it's a gorgeous bike, it's developing it slowly but surely, adding LED lights and electronic suspension, and I've no doubt tyre pressure warning sensors will be added, things like that. Whereas Honda, I'm afraid they've done the dirty on our market, because if it weren't for the European market, they wouldn't be where they are now, perhaps, because we were the biggest market, but now of course it's the Asian market, and they have smaller bikes. China, I guess the Korean market, and India. These are markets where they don't want bikes like the Pan-European. They did bring out the VFR 1200. Now that's a superb bike. A friend of mine has one of those. Absolute gorgeous. But well, two friends actually have VFR 1200s. John and Steve, and they're gorgeous bikes. I think well, John's is a white one. I think Steve's is a red one. I'm not sure. It's a while since I've seen it, but it was never a replacement for the Pan. It's a V4, like the Pan, but absolutely no way, because I think the V4 it's configured differently for a kick-off, and it's an out and out sort of I guess you could, it's a sports tourer, but it's more sports than tourer, I think. I think people would agree with that own them, But the Pan-European is a sports tourer, but it's more of a tourer, It's the nearest you'll get to the Gullwing, but having owned the Gullwing, which I'll get to shortly, I know the Gullwing's nowhere near a Pan-European, or vice versa, so you can't compare it, Right, so there we are. We're proud owners of the Pan-European, and I can't remember how many miles we put on her between 2004 and 2007, but I think it probably was 30 odd thousand. I think we generally do about 10,000 miles a year on our bikes, and that's just weekends. And did we take the Pan away on holiday? 5, 6 we didn't go away anywhere. 7 no, so I don't think we took the Pan actually away on a holiday, that the first Pan. So that's 30 or 1,000 miles. That's literally weekend stuff, and the odd time during the week on holiday, days out. So it's pretty good going, really. Those engines. Oh, I'm just interrupting now. This is Lynn's view. I've named it that this morning. That view, whenever we came over this brow to see that view on the A591 there, we both cheered. We were there. When you see that view, you know that you're in the Lake District. So whenever I see that view now, from now on in, I mean, I'd think of Lynn anyway, but I've named it Lynn's view, so I'd like to get a photograph of that view and put it in a frame one day. It's a lovely view. Yeah, so yeah, the Pan. So we had that until 2007, and I remember one day when Lynn suggested, she said, have you ever thought of having a Gullwing? What are your feelings about that? So I thought, well, I've always, ever since I saw the first Gullwing, the 1000cc one from 1975, I've always sort of admired the bike. And of course, when they brought the Aspen Cade out in about 1982, and I saw them up at the barn in 83, enormous bikes. And I actually had a ride on the back of, I think it was an 1100 Gullwing, belonging a friend of mine, Arnold. The thing is, I was riding me Honda 90 at that time, and the Honda 90 had gone in for a repair to the clutch, and Arnold, picked me up from Bill Head's in Longridge and brought me home. And then when I went to pick the bike up, he took me back. And I remember thinking, sat on that bike, thinking, wow, this is unbelievable. So I've always had, an inkling to maybe get a Gullwing. Well, 2007, we got one. And we got it from Hunt's in Manchester, Honda dealership. And there she is. And there's Lynn. And it was an absolutely bitterly cold February morning. Beautiful sunny morning, as you can see, but really cold. And this Gullwing didn't have the heated seat. Now, I've never had heated seats on a bike before, but hey ho, what you haven't had you don't miss. So with a very, very heavy heart, and it was a heavy heart, we said goodbye to the Pan, which was called Lynn, and you know, the photograph of it, I've still got it. I won't delete it, but it's not one that I look at with any pleasure at all, because it's a really sad day that day. Anyway, we move on, and so we ride away from hunts on this gullwing. Now at this stage I must tell you that I've never ridden a gullwing in my life. Now here we are on an 1800cc flat 6 super machine, but the beauty of the gullwing is that it is so not only low down, but it's so well balanced, you know, incredibly well balanced. And I rode down that Cheadle Road, I think it's the A34, and when I came to the first set of traffic lights, obviously, you know, I've got Lynn on the bike, and Lynn was a bit concerned because I've never ridden it before, and you know, I've got a pillion on board, but I was confident. And when I got to the first set of lights, well, I just couldn't believe how flat-footed with both feet I was, so low down. And I thought, this is, and it was heavy, you could feel the weight, but it was weight that you could very, very easily manage. And it was just incredible, in this huge screen. Now the screen on the gullwing, unlike the pan, is not adjustable electronically. You can do it manually, but you've got to be off the bike, obviously. You've got to be stood in front of the machine. But this huge screen and ginormous fairing, but at the same time, you know, big but manageable. Couldn't believe how manoeuvrable it was. So anybody who thinks that a gullwing you cannot filter, well, I proved it wrong, because you can filter. You've got to take your time, you've got to be careful, which you do anyway. But filter, yes, you can still filter. You've got panniers on a gullwing, as you can see there. Now the panniers are fixed, you can't take them off, so a bit like the Deauville, the pannier pin, you could take them off to clean them, or take them into your hotel or wherever you're stopping. But the gullwing you can't, they're fixed. Now the other drawback is that the top box is also fixed, and unbelievably the top box was quite small inside. I mean, there was a little compartment in the floor of the top box which you lifted a little lid up, and you can put things like a CD changer if you wanted in there. I actually put a recorder, a hard disk recorder for a bullet cam. Here we are in Windermere. A bullet cam, so I wired it straight through to the front of the bike, so that the recorder was actually inside this recess, so it was out of the way. And so yeah, I'll introduce a picture of that recorder, and you'll see it with a sponge. That sponge is there to offer some kind of protection against vibration. It worked. It used to get a bit overheated, as you can imagine, in there, but the system worked. Good quality, but very, very expensive, and a lot of faffing with cables and whatnot. So there we are with this going. So that's where I'll end this this story now. So we're on the red 03 2003 Gullwing, and we're riding. We actually went to Harrogate that day to visit some friends, and the story will continue. Right, hope you've enjoyed the story. Hope you're enjoying these little ramblings of mine. So I'll see you on the next part. Okay, bye for now.